Look at Vital. He's got
If
the
I can get some
varsity,
height,
the
right?
hoodie.
Yeah, I love it.
It's 66 degrees outside. You dressed up like you're going running in Boston.
Vital, you can fill out DraftKings while Lonnie shits on some team. Probably yours, actually. Maybe yours. We'll see. Okay.
My team played amazing. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Welcome back, anybody who's watching us on YouTube. We are FantaCTE. We have on today's show close games, big plays, blown leads and upsets, futures for quarterback, and the worst bet ever. But first, why your team sucks with Lonnie Cox.
Hello, everybody. We've got a couple of teams to choose from today. I don't know if we ever went to this team. I don't think we ever did. They might have just kind of floated along, missing my sniper scope of shit talking. But today, and we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers, who snatched defeat right out of the hands of victory. It was really, truly awful. It was 27-7. I'm like, you know what? This game's over. The Jaguars had a valiant effort to make it to the playoffs, but kind of a moral victory making it to the playoffs. And the Jacksonville Jaguars scored 31 points to win the game. That's just awful. I read today that they're keeping their head coach for some reason. Really embarrassing. Brandon Staley's got to go, but apparently they're keeping him. Really just very Charger-esque. Please,
but who's
let that
more of a
be over.
letdown with talent-wise, the Chargers or the Vikings? Really,
I'd say the Chargers probably
because of their defense. That's why.
I don't know, man.
Dude,
I feel like the Vikings have underutilized Cook all season long. You have probably a top 3 running back ever, and I never hear his name.
That's true. You're right about that. But the Chargers had also a great running back in Austin Eckler. And they couldn't run the ball for shit this year at all. Like, they were throwing him. He was very productive fantasy-wise, but they didn't run the ball particularly well. Also, they're loaded on defense. They got Joey Bosa. They got Khalil Mack. They got bookends. They've got
Asante Samuel, Derwin James.
Derwin James, you're talking about loaded star talent. This is such a classic Chargers win, though, man. Like, just move back to San Diego, admit that you made a mistake. Brandon Staley, what a fucking idiot. And you know what came back to bite him? Mike Williams. Mike Williams, fracture in his back, unable to play in this game because he played the entire game last week, which meant absolutely nothing. Brandon Staley should be fired for that, if for no other reason. But on the upside, Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence looked really good. Again, he's had ups and downs, but he looked very poised. He made some great throws. Their offense was humming in the second half. You saw the playmakers, you saw his receivers getting tons of separation, making big plays. The better team usually wins. Do you guys believe the Jags are the better team?
I mean, I do. Yeah,
I think,
obviously, dude. Don't they always play the Chargers really well anyway, too? They creamed them at the beginning of the season.
They beat them earlier.
It was because of the Chargers' injuries. But they come to play them, dude.
Absolutely. They beat them. Yeah, they beat them badly. They came into the playoffs hot. They had to win, and they did. They had momentum on their side, and their defense, nobody's really talking about. The defense got put in some bad spots early in the game because of turnovers, but that defense actually played really, really well. They got a lot of young talent on that defensive side. So that, to me, was the difference in the game. Trevor Lawrence, obviously, he had to play great. It's going to set up for an interesting game this coming week, which we'll talk about. When the Chargers were up 27-0, because they were up 27-0 at one point, some guy went in and bet 1.4 million to win 11,000 on the game, mid-game part. Like, it was one of those in-game bets. Ended up losing 1.4 million.
You know what's crazy? My buddies did the opposite of that bet. Like, in the third quarter, they bet 100 when they were down like 2 touchdowns, and they all won 400.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Like, I don't know if they've released the actual name of this guy yet, but allegedly it rhymes with Relon Fusk, I think, is something along those lines.
Why would you even do that bet, dude? What is the
Because you're a
payout of that,
degenerate.
dude? It's all risk.
You probably thought it was an easy 11K. This guy's probably realistically probably doesn't have the money. He's going to end up indebted to the mob.
People with that kind of money don't make those kind of mistakes.
Exactly. This guy is going to either end up in a ditch or running. He's going to be a drug mule for the rest of his life. So congratulations to whoever did. It was probably from San Diego anyway. How about Daniel Jones showing up? You were talking about the Vikings. I think the Vikings defense sucked. We've been saying that for weeks, and they were pretenders. Me and Vital, we picked the Giants in this game. Who do you want to shout out in this game, Vital?
Definitely Danny Dimes, dude. He was running all over the boys, throwing it too. He came to play. I thought it would be more of a Saquon game, but no, they couldn't stop Daniel Jones at all, dude.
Absolutely. Saquon looked great too, but Danny Dimes, he was the star of the game. Ran the ball, I think it was his career high 17 rushes. I think he earned himself a contract for sure.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Even before yesterday, I think he had earned it. But now he's really, when you come in and you go on the road and you get a playoff win, that's big time. That shows that you are the guy. The real question is, can they keep Saquon? Do you guys see them being able to hang on? Because I think the threat of Saquon and Danny Jones both being able to run, it really one helps the other tremendously.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
I
haven't heard anything about like Saquon having any issues with the organization during his injury. I know he had a good relationship with them, so
feel good for Saquon too after going through some tough years. Put in the work to get back to where he's arguably the best back, one of the best backs in the league. So I like to see that. I'd love to see him go back to the Giants. What else can the Giants do? In speaking of offseason moves, what would you like to see them do to get better? Because this is a team that's on the rise.
I mean, they need a true number one receiver. If they don't have that, it's like the Miami Heat. You know what I mean? Like Bam Adebayo cannot be your second best player if you really want to make a push. You cannot have Sterling Shepard as your number one guy. Like Sterling Shepard, is that his name?
Who the fuck knows? Yeah, Sterling Shepard, but he's hurt. He's always hurt.
Who's the guy that dropped that pass on third down?
Oh, Darius Slayton. Yeah,
you cannot have Darius Slayton be your guy.
Right. He did really well, but he started the year on the practice squad. They've got guys just pulling guys off the street. Richie James looked really good. Kenny Galladay threw a mean block at one point. I remember we were watching the game. I was like, that's $1 million block right there. That's how much he's getting paid for that one block. Who's available? Possibly a reunion with Odell Beckham. That looks more attractive now for Odell and for the Giants. You think this is a real possibility that they bring him back in?
I don't think Odell is the player they need. They need like a true number one. I think Odell wants to do like playoff runs, pushes like that. They're gonna need someone like who's active out there all the time. He'll probably come in like more like Dashaun Jackson did for that team. Yeah.
I think he's got more in the tank left than Dashaun did, or does. He's still just barely past 30.
No, I know he's got a tank, but I don't think he wants to.
I think this is one of the best situations for him to be one of the top guys, which he's got an ego. He wants to be viewed as the guy, or at least 1A and 1B, one of the two guys, which will automatically be with the Giants. And I think they're built to win, obviously, in the playoffs because they just did. How you like them in the draft, Lonnie? You think they could draft a receiver high?
Yeah. I think you can get somebody. There's probably a couple guys that you'd look at in the draft.
The TCU.
Mm-hmm. He might be hanging around towards the bottom end of the first round, by the playoff picks.
I love them getting a receiver with their first pick and going after Beckham. I think that might be the best situation for them. How many other big time receivers are going to be available after this in this offseason? I can't think of a lot of top tier talent that's going to be floating around as far as receivers are concerned. Who knows? They might even try to bring Evan Ingram back. Somebody's going to have to pay some money for Evan Ingram. And I don't know if the Jags cap is as good as the Giants. So wouldn't rule out a little bit
I would wonder about like a guy like Mike Gesicki, who's probably not going to stay in Miami this year.
Also, the Rams announced that Sean McVay is coming back and Matthew Stafford is coming back. So they will also probably make a push to try to sign Odell Beckham because that does change their team a lot. Are the Vikings at tear it down and rebuild mode yet?
I don't think they ever really do that. They're just like constantly pushing. They never really do rebuilds, right?
I feel like you got to make a push, but like, what do you do? What do you do if you're the Vikings to not have this happen next year?
shore up the defense, right? This is really, I think, their big hole. Their secondary is trash. They keep getting burnt by everyone.
It's really sad to watch Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson just be such, generational talents and just getting bounced. There was a lot of familiarity this weekend. A lot of games were really close, but I looked at it and I was like, why are these games so close? One, NFL parity is great. We have it's designed to create parity, which is what's so good about the league, right? The way that the pay structure, salary cap, everything is designed to create parity. And that's what makes the playoffs the best in professional sports. But something else we ended up with this year was a lot of familiarity between the teams, which also makes for very close games. Usually you had 3 of the games were division matchups. So these teams had played each other twice already this year. And then all 3 of the other games, including tonight's game, they've already played at least once this year. The Jags and the Chargers, they knew each other from earlier this season. The Giants and the Vikings just played, 2 weeks ago? Was it the first game of the year, Cowboys Bucks?
First game. It was the first Sunday night game. Yep.
First Sunday night game. All right. So, but these teams have played each other. They played each other again last year. They played, so they are pretty familiar with each other too. So I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing these really close games. Bengals Ravens was closer than people expected, but again, it's a divisional matchup. 2 teams that know each other well, and Tyler Huntley played really well in relief of Lamar Jackson. What do you think about Lamar for next year? There's been speculation that Lamar sat out when he could have maybe played.
I mean, RG3 posted a great tweet. He posted, the tweet of his knee failing because he put a brace on right. A torn ACL and PCL and ruined his career. You're seeing a guy like Lamar who I would pick him over Deshaun Watson. Wouldn't you? Would you? I mean, I would have rather have Deshaun Watson on the Cowboys or the Dolphins, Vital. And Deshaun's looking at $230 million guaranteed with a humongous scandal. And Lamar's like, why can't I get that? Like, why am I not worth that? I won the MVP, all these things. So if he's looking at next year, I would say he's probably not going to come back in a Ravens uniform, would be my guess, unless they franchise tag him.
Agreed.
Really? You guys don't think Lamar's back with the Ravens?
Unless they
without a franchise tag.
I think he mainly just needs the money. Just show that they believe in him.
First of all, if you look strictly based on what happened on the field, I'd much rather have Deshaun Watson. He's been more durable, he's been more productive, he's been more versatile. He's been more accurate as a passer. He's done more with less than Lamar has. Wins and losses, yes. Lamar has gotten
more with less.
The Ravens have a lot.
Deshaun Watson had DeAndre Hopkins most of his career.
For a little while, not for the entire. DeAndre Hopkins
they only missed 1 year together.
He's got one guy. His number 2 what was
Brandon Cooks?
No. That was before Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks wasn't there until after Hopkins left. Who was their number 2 receiver? Is dude who got busted for steroids, PEDs.
No, he also had Will. I want to say Will Forte.
No, I know that's the guy. That's what I'm talking about.
What's his name, man?
Fuller. Will Fuller.
Yeah,
got busted for PEDs.
Like he had some pretty good receivers. He had a good tight end.
That's
great defense.
He only had Will Fuller and Hopkins, and they were both.
Oh, he only had the number 1 receiver in football and like a top 25 receiver in football.
Yeah,
and a great offensive line. I'm just saying,
how is his
Lamar
defense?
Jackson is a better quarterback. I would rather have Lamar Jackson than Deshaun Watson.
How is Houston's defense during those years? How much money did Houston spend on defense versus the Ravens?
What do you mean? They had an elite defense.
Houston
they had
JJ
Watt,
they have Watt
Jadeveon Clowney. They had that guy Francois, the corner. They had Cushion. They had an elite defense. They had a great
defense ranked those years. I'd love to know the defensive rank for the Texans versus the Ravens during those years. I just think Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback on the field, period. And
it's time to go to the research.
He also hasn't been injured nearly as much as Lamar Jackson has. Lamar Jackson's been knocked out a few times.
Yeah, but scandals and injuries count as much the same, dude. If you're out, you're out. You can't play.
But that wasn't Lonnie's point.
No, but I'm still saying, what's the difference, man? You still
listen,
a year.
I get that, but 0 convictions. So still.
Him and OJ, baby. Him and OJ.
Yeah, I mean, it was, that's why the Browns gave him the contract though, because he wasn't convicted of anything and he's eligible to play. You're not talking about somebody who's unavailable. So whatever happened, he's still on the field this year, and to close out the season. I don't know. I think because that's the whole thing. Is Lamar going to be available? That's the big question. Is his style of play sustainable? Now, I like Tyler Huntley paired with Lamar because Huntley is not much of a drop off. He is a drop off, but he's not that big of a drop off. I think Tyler Huntley made himself a bunch of money and arguably hurt Lamar Jackson's leverage position in this game because he did play very well. He played like he might be an NFL starter. And if you're going to have to pay someone to back up Lamar, who's almost starter caliber, Lamar is not worth as much money. That's what I saw from that game. I saw Lamar Jackson lose money. I saw Tyler Huntley make money. And I saw the Ravens, I don't know, maybe think we don't need him as much as he needs us because we built this whole system for him. Nobody else has done it.
I think it's the opposite because look how close they were to winning that game, dude. I don't think the Ravens care about playing well. They want to win, right?
Yeah, they want to win, but that's why
that's the difference between Huntley and Lamar Jackson in that game, right?
Huntley could have won. Lamar could have lost.
I don't know. I think that little difference where you're saying the step down is the difference in that game. And I think that's why he has a better position to get that money from the Ravens. I think he has a case for it. You guys could have made a playoff push with me.
Yeah, but he wasn't available for the playoff push. It's not like he sat out on his own of his own accord. It's not like he was a holdout. He just wasn't available to play. Yeah. And that's the problem. What'd you find, Monty? What'd you come up with?
Okay. So Dashaun Watson in a 6-year career, not including last year, which was 2021. So in 2017, he started 7 games, in 2018, 16 games, in 2019, 15 games, in 2020, 16 games, and in 2022, 6 games. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Let's call it 4, combining 2017 and 2022. Let's call it 4 years of play. He has 111 touchdowns through the air, 41 interceptions. He has run.
Dude, that's a ratio that's baller.
What? That's almost half. That's almost a 50% ratio.
111 to 40 is almost half? No, it's almost.
I mean, it's not like. And so Lamar Jackson in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years has 101 touchdowns to 38 interceptions. His passer rating
are we talking about
is a 96.7.
Are these rushing touchdowns?
This is not rushing touchdowns. So that's not even including rushing touchdowns.
I'd love to know the rushing touchdowns factored in also, because Dashaun Watson rushed for a lot of touchdowns as well. What about the defensive rankings? Did we get into that? I
can't find that. So Lamar Jackson has 24 career rushing touchdowns. Dashaun Watson has 18. So the stats are better for Lamar. Lamar has a better touchdown to interception ratio. He has more rushing touchdowns. He has an MVP, and he's more successful in the playoffs.
What about the defenses?
No, the defenses.
That was what I said. That was what I asked you for.
Now, let me ask you this. If you give Lamar the number 1 receiver in the NFL, you think his numbers would go up or go down?
I don't know, man.
Come on. All right, we've moved on. I think I made my point there.
No, you haven't made your point, because I said that Lamar's been a huge beneficiary of his defense. I want to know the defensive ranks. That's when you talk about playoff wins, the defensive rank is very important. But all right, we should move on regardless. We'll come back to this though. Okay, so the Bengals sneak by, but they lost another offensive lineman. They've lost like 3 offensive linemen in 3 straight weeks, and they were just starting to click. This is concerning for a team that a lot of us think could be in line for a Super Bowl run. That was the downside. You know who looked really good, though, in that game for the Ravens? Is J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins is a guy, along with Cam Akers, that I was thinking watching these guys. I'm like, these guys are going to be fantasy gems next year. They're going to be like fantasy value. No, you don't think
Dobbins' health, man. He's very injury prone.
I mean, everybody said that about Saquon and McCaffrey before this year, too. Sometimes guys just get a couple of years where they get hurt.
I wouldn't risk it. If it's me, I'm not betting on J.K. Dobbins.
Okay, we'll see how you feel after you dance tomorrow. The Bills were not dominant against the Dolphins. You talked about your Dolphins, Vital, putting up a really good fight against the Bills. Does this say more about the Bills or the Dolphins?
The story that everyone's saying, it looks like they're talking about the Bills playing poorly, but I don't think that's it at all. Again, it's just like how the Dolphins always played the Pats well. If you have a division rival, you play them all the time, you know them, and then like there's really not that intimidation factor. Like, I play these guys so much in a regular season. I think going into that game, the point differential, it was 1-1 and it was only a 3-point differential. So right there, the Dolphins know they can play with them. And yeah, the defense really stepped up yesterday, man. They were getting in, the linemen were all over Josh Allen. I heard in the game, they're like, oh, don't rush him, don't pressure him. I was like, you should pressure him. You have to treat Josh Allen like a quarterback, or else what are you going to do? Just let him sit all there and throw? Yeah, I mean, if he's going to run, let him run.
What do you think about the Bills, Lonnie? We've been high on the Bills most of the year, and Josh Allen.
I am continuing to be high on the Bills.
Yeah. No concerns here with
I mean,
Josh Allen's been
I would like to see them play the Bengals next week.
They are.
No, I mean, like, I don't know if I have my concerns. Like, can they beat the Chiefs right now? It's hard to tell in these division games, like, what your weaknesses are, because these divisional teams, they'll exploit things that, because they have such a big body of data, really get to know these teams in other ways that, other teams can't. So I'll have to see. Let's see if they make it past the Bengals. Tomorrow, next week, I expect them to be in the AFC Championship game. I think they will pull it out. Do they beat the Chiefs? I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, Josh Allen's been pretty loose with the football, which was his MO really up until last season. And now you see he lost his offensive coordinator. Brian Dable went to the Giants. All of a sudden, Daniel Jones is very tight with their offense is great. But Josh Allen definitely has been loose with the football previously and again this year. So I'm curious to see if last year is the aberration or if this year is the aberration to his tendency to throw a lot of picks. Talk about a guy who's throwing a lot of interceptions. Try comparing Josh Allen's numbers to those other two quarterbacks we talked about. He has historically thrown a lot of picks, but last year he kind of cut that down and elevated himself. All right. The Niners blew out the Seahawks. Purdy looked really good again. Nobody played Purdy in our fantasy contest. Looking back on that, the 49ers look like the favorite in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
If they are, in fact, the favorite to go to the Super Bowl, somebody should have picked the fucking quarterback, because the AFC seems a lot more wide open. And we were everybody's all over the place in our fantasy pick'em AFC quarterbacks. Purdy seems like he might have been the move to make, but news to us says he's not retiring. Happy to hear that, Patel?
Yeah, I've heard.
Oh, and this was fun. We talked about this a few weeks ago. There was the Niners defensive back who asked Tom Brady to sign his ball. One of his own teammates this past week asked him to sign another ball for him. So what's his name? Logan Ryan, who intercepted Tom Brady when he was a member of the Titans to finish it was the last throw Brady ever made as a Patriot. Logan Ryan picked it off as a Titan. Now they're both on the Bucs, and Logan Ryan came to him last week. Was like, "Hey man, can you sign this?" And Brady did it. This is a trend, man. I'm telling you. Like, how are you going to say no to your own teammate, though?
That seems fair. Brady's won so much now. I'm sure he's evolved past. He's like still 7 rings. It's fine.
Yeah. You know what? Though I do like this going into this game tonight, though, because it does serve a little extra motivation, like poking the bear a little bit when you're on his team. Even it's like it's good psychology. It's like, hey, remember last time you got knocked out of the playoffs by me and you threw an interception, sign the ball. Like I like that psychologically for tonight's game. Before we get to tonight's game, let's talk about division picks. We're going to do the games we know of, or at least Jags, Chiefs. Do you give the Jags any chance in this game against the Chiefs? No. Vital?
Really.
No chance?
No, not really.
You're talking about the Chiefs who struggled to beat the Texans, who were last in that division that the Jags won. I think the Jags have I think they're going to copy the Bengals game plan. You've got Doug Peterson, who knows Andy Reid's tendencies very well. To give them no chance at all, I think is disrespectfful.
I didn't say no chance. I just any betting amount of money. Like they have a chance, but it's what? 1 in 1,000?
No, they got a better chance. I think they have a better chance that their defense is tough. They know how to game plan. Doug Peterson's a great coach. Trevor Lawrence is going to have to play a close to perfect game, I think, but he's capable of doing that. He's got the talent. He's got the arm talent. He's got the receiver talent. I give him a chance, a slight chance. Nobody thought the Bengals were going to beat the Chiefs last year either. Bengals, Bills.
I'm actually giving this to the Bengals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lonnie, you're still on the Bills?
I'm on the Bills.
I'm on the Bengals too, but I would have felt a lot better if their offensive line hadn't fallen apart in the last few weeks. They really struggled with protection and running the ball. So I think it's going to be a really good game. That might be the game of the week. That's definitely going to be the one to watch. Eagles, Giants.
Eagles.
Lonnie, division rivals, division foes. You know these teams well.
God, if there's anyone I hate more than the Giants, it's the Eagles, man. I mean, one of them is going to be in the NFC Championship game.
I know.
I just hate it. I would hate. Listen, I would hate it for it to be either one of them.
At least one NFC East team is going to make the championship game. That's
the
good
problem. Is that the Giants have a tendency in the last couple of years that when they make it into the playoffs and they win a game, they win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I would expect the Eagles to win the game. But if the Giants win the game,
this is another matchup. Like the Giants just played their third stringers against the Eagles, who were trying to win the game and gave them problems.
Right. Yeah, I don't put it past the Eagles to lose this game.
I don't either.
I would love for the Eagles to lose it because I was just arguing with a couple of Eagles fans that they're definitely going to win the Super Bowl this year and all this shit. But
Eagles fans, they're the worst.
The worst. Just the worst. Just the worst. All right. But I'm going to give it to the Eagles. I think the Eagles will pull it out.
I'm picking the Eagles too. But I really do think the Giants have a decent chance at getting in. And 49ers versus the Bucks or the Cowboys. Do you think either of these teams playing tonight have a chance to beat the 49ers the way they're playing right now?
I mean, the way they're playing right now, no, but everybody can step up.
Purdy's still a rookie, but he still hasn't looked like a rookie. It's crazy. I feel like we haven't seen anything like this since maybe Brady's first year as a starter, when he took over for Bledsoe. He just looks so poised. He's got a great team around him. He's got a killer defense. It's very reminiscent of that, which would be fun to watch, actually, him play Brady if the Bucks win. Do you think the 49ers are going to be in the NFC Championship game, though, regardless of what happens tonight?
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's talk some interesting potential Super Bowl matchups, some historical ones possibly that we could see based on who's still in it. You got Bills Cowboys. We had this as a possibility last year. Some of these are long shots, obviously. Bills Cowboys is not the highest odds of happening, but I think it'd be really fun to see those two teams go at each other again. The Bills, if they were ever going to get over the hump in the Super Bowl, it would be poetic. It would be like the Red Sox breaking their curse against the Yankees, that kind of thing. Bills Giants, also a revenge Super Bowl from arguably the one that they should have won. The Bills should have won. Those are long shots, though. More realistic possibility. How about this? 49ers Bengals. 2 Super Bowls have been 49ers Bengals. Would you guys like to see this matchup?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this one would be very interesting, very compelling, and also visually pleasing just from the history standpoint. 49ers Chiefs, a more recent rematch. If it is 49ers and the Chiefs, there's a possibility that Jimmy G could be back. Would you consider bringing Jimmy G back in at this point, the way Purdy's playing? No chance whatsoever.
If Purdy takes you to the Super Bowl, you let him ride.
Okay.
He's been playing great, dude. He's been getting away. I've watched the whole game, dude. He was getting away from tackles, just making things happen, dude.
He's very athletic, a good runner, pretty fast. He looks kind of like Daniel Jones almost does now. And okay, what else we got? So 49ers Bengals, that one feels realistic. 49ers Chiefs feels also very possible. That feels like it's likely. Chiefs Bucks would be an interesting rematch. I would love to see this rematch. Brady Mahomes, give Mahomes a chance to get some revenge on Brady. We'll call this one Bucks Jags would be the Florida Bowl. That would be fun. That'd be pretty cool.
No, it would not. That would be the worst Super Bowl.
What? The Bucks Jags? I think that'd be a really good game. I think the game.
It'll never let it happen. Great game.
It'll never happen.
Be a great game. Be fantastic.
I hope it happens.
It's probably not going to happen.
If the Bucks Jags play in the Super Bowl, I will get hair replacement surgery.
Really? Do we get to pick what color?
For where?
There is no chance that Super Bowl happens.
Okay, you have to get the teal though. Teal and maybe combine them, the two. It would be like Christmas on your head. All right, how about Eagles Jags? This would be this would be the Peterson Bowl. That would be a very compelling Super Bowl. And we'll call this one the Giants Jags. We'll call that the improbable because that is probably the least likely to happen, but also would be pretty interesting. Let's do a quick over under. Lamar, we already did Lamar back to the Ravens. You guys are taking the
I noticed that the Cowboys just don't get thrown in there at all.
I said the Cowboys. The First one I said, Bills Cowboys. I would love to see the Bills Cowboys. I would almost prefer that to many other matchups.
I would love to see the Cowboys and the Chiefs because they were the same franchise at one point. They both come from the same franchise, so that would be cool.
Okay. That would be cool. I like that one too. Okay, we talked about Purdy as a starter. How about Brady? Where do you think Brady? There's been a lot of speculation this week about where Brady's going to go. What do you think? You want him?
I think he comes to Miami.
You think he comes to Miami?
I think it's very possible.
Even with Tua saying he's coming back.
Who cares? Tua can say whatever he wants. It's not up to him. I would imagine if you're Stephen Ross right now, you're realizing that you missed a huge opportunity to win now with Tua, right? You realize that if you would have gotten Tom Brady here, we would be looking at a Super Bowl favorite Miami Dolphins football team.
Definitely. I would say
so. It's not up to him. It's not up to Tua.
It's a good point. So you think Miami's a better, more likely than the Raiders?
For Tom Brady? Absolutely.
I think he likes Miami too. He's got
Tom Brady lives here. He has a house here. He's not. Why would he go to Vegas?
Right. That doesn't make sense.
Now, San Francisco, maybe.
San Francisco also.
He's from Cali, right?
Yeah,
he's a San Francisco guy. He's like,
grew up watching them. I like the San Francisco fit. And even if Purdy wins the Super Bowl, do you still bring Brady in? I think maybe, and then just keep Purdy as a backup. Fucking trade Trey.
It doesn't matter. If you go down, go learn from Brady. Like
right, learn
from
exactly
on that. Sit behind Brady.
Perfect situation. Bring Brock Purdy along in a couple of years. He'll be the next Brady. So I love that. I like that fit too. Both of those. I hope it's one of those two. All right. DraftKings captains for tonight. We all know who we're picking because we picked last week. Me and Vital. Vital, you still on the Bucks tonight?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Lonnie, who you got for your DraftKings captain?
CD.
Who you got, Vital?
I think I picked Tony Pollard, actually.
Oh, you guys both on Cowboys. I took Brady. I took the GOAT, man. He's getting his center, Ryan Jensen, back tonight. I like it.
Saw that.
You never pick QBs unless it's Brady. Always receivers. You see Brady, your Pat's bias is showing.
I just like to veer the direction you guys aren't going in. It's done pretty well for me so far. Oh, and worst QBs, we got Lonnie, Geno Smith, 18.92, Vital, Trevor Lawrence, 26.32. There's a lot of room in between those where I could fall in the middle with Dak. Could also be on either end, high or low. So watch closely tonight for that one as well. All right, you guys got anything? Oh, do you have anything to promote before I promote our thing tomorrow night? Do you have any other shows coming up this week that you want to promote?
No, nothing this week.
Vital will be performing a last place penalty alongside a Nico bowling set. We've been working on this penalty for 2 years now because last year's loser bitched out. So Vital is the big winner. Oh, it's probably going to be better than next year's penalty, honestly. Anybody who's watching or who watches, come to Brews Room tomorrow night to see Vital do an interpretive dance for coming in last place in our fantasy league. All right. That's about it. All right. Let's go. I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
All right.
Good one.
See ya.